document, there we go, another bit with beard. Some of the things that has got up to, and I realised this was actually getting quite interesting. So one of the things I sort of took on was a slightly more formal role of recording everything that CAS did that I was able to come along to, which was most things. So we have this archive on the website which has gaps, but those gaps will be filled, which really takes us from the early founding of CAS. We have all the copies of Page, for example, and some of the exhibitions. We have plans to fill gaps in other exhibitions. It takes us up to here where we have Lambert's PhD thesis, the Cash Project, more recent Pages, and Technoculture's project, 2010, and then some gaps. But I have this content, it just takes quite a long time to put it on, and various other things. So the thing I'd say is if you want to have a look at some of these materials, they're all available online. Where there are gaps, they will be filled at some point. Then I sort of got involved in 2000 and around about 2021 too, as basically as chair, as an interim chair, which is a role I've taken on, and I'm now chair of the Computer Arts Society. And I felt it was quite important maybe to post-lockdown to re-establish CAS and think about what are the core goals of the society. And with the organising committee, we really thought, well, we need to focus on making sure that the talks that CAS has done for many years continue. So we have a great speaker programme. Paul Brown organises that. I personally was very interested in organising more exhibitions, smaller informal exhibitions, but some of the larger ones as well, such as the exhibition we got involved in 2019, the event 2 that Graham was involved in putting together, and others. I sort of curated the CAS bit of that exhibition. And I also thought we need to look at the community. How do we actually reinvigorate the CAS community? Because the CAS community, well, it's a big international community, but also it's a group of friends who used to physically meet at Birkbeck and other places. And now we're in this post-COVID world where a lot of the engagements happen online. Plus we've got a new location. We're now running events here at CAS. We need to think a little bit about how the community works. So where we are currently with CAS, and you'll find everything is documented on the web. As a former, I ran a web design company for quite a while. Everything goes on the web. I'm very web oriented. We have an archive of all of our talks since about 2020, 21, and they happen regularly. These are the 2024 talks, and there are a couple to go in there which I haven't yet finished editing. When you go back, you've got the 2023. We had quite a few talks last year. 2020, 21, COVID times, lockdown talks, we have those in. So we're building up a lot of good content there on the website in terms of talks. We are doing regular exhibitions, and we have a format which is not the limit of our ambition, but it's a format that allows us to put on regular exhibitions, which are these either 20 print exhibitions or corridor shows, as we've called them, which you'll see outside, the latest one, which is the CAS Members Show. And 20 printed artworks, all the same size, all to go in landscape or landscape frames, with the idea being that these are quick to produce and they're fairly transportable. I can carry all the prints in a single case, and if there's another location that has the frames, such as Phoenix in Leicester, we can put the exhibitions on there. And we've had a great series of exhibitions. So currently we have the CAS Members Show out here. We've recently taken down Alex May's exhibition, but that's going up in Leicester, or it is up in Leicester. In Leicester, we've had a Jack Tate retrospective, which is coming here in December. You currently have the Peter Hardy work around the offices. We have the Leicester Computer Art Pioneers project of mine, so I'm based in Leicester. Last year's CAS member exhibition, Quantel Paintbox, Paul Brown, Ernest, MicroArts. All of these exhibitions have taken place here. Most have also taken place in Leicester, and they all have an associated catalogue. And those catalogues are free PDFs to download, but I have a bundle of printed ones with me. I have during the conference. So if you're interested in purchasing one, come and see me. But you can get every catalogue online for free. So we're doing exhibitions, and we have a planned exhibition programme. These are past exhibitions we've run, Phoenix and Leicester, And in terms of our programme, we have a plan up until the middle of next year of the exhibitions we're running. So that was another thing I thought was very important, do more exhibitions as well as do more talks. And then the final thing is community. And it's difficult to form a community, even of interest, people interested in things. So I've been personally thinking, how do we get people to be a community? And I think the basis of it could well be this CAS members show we have out in the corridor. It's a way of bringing people together and getting them engaged in something. And I feel that maybe starting with the CAS members show, we can grow our community. Every year we get more people involved. We reward their involvement by promoting their work, and they reward our support of them by promoting us. So maybe that's the basis of building up a fresh and new community. So that's a little bit about the CAS update, where we are now with CAS. So I'm now going to move to a different website. I have a nightmare using PCs because I'm visually impaired. My computer is set up exactly how I want it, and I can use it without any problem. As soon as I come to a PC or a machine that's not set up, I'm getting around, I can't even see the cursor, but oh, there it is. Right, so let's have a look. Brilliant. Okay, so this is the CAS website, this is the current exhibition. I think I'm okay. If I go into EVA, I should have my slides. Great. Is that right? Yeah. Do you reckon you could type in the end of the address for me? I can't see it on there. So, yeah, it is. So it's that one that ends there. I think it says. Here we go. EVA-London-archive.pdf. Brilliant. Thank you. So now get to the main body of what I was looking to present today. Although this does tie into CAS generally, but it's really okay with that. So I'm going to give you an update on the EVA London Archive. I introduced this last year as a planned project, just to say that we had physically taken a big bundle of materials. And more recently, over the last year, I've been working on indexing those and turning them into a useful searchable database. So, background. EVA London's been running since 1990. I think maybe some of the people who are more recently involved don't realise how well established it is. But it's been running a long time, and it was founded by James Hemsley, who has been mentioned earlier. I think, and it does, represent a significant body of knowledge, 30 years showing the development of electronic visualisation and the arts. A really important time in that development. So within the EVA archive, it's a huge, valuable body of knowledge, but it's also an ever-evolving community. And I think that community is interesting in its own right, not just what they've written about and what they've presented about, but the community itself. And last year we took over the task of, well, we took all of the materials and we're starting to index it up in Leicester as part of my Computer Arts Archive project, which is a community interest company set up to maintain all the materials that we're collecting related to Computer Arts Society and computer arts in general. The challenge. So this is what it looked like when it was delivered. In fact, this is what it looked like after it had been carried up 2 flights of stairs after it had been delivered. Which is a lot of stuff. All archives start as piles of stuff. You never get them delivered to you. Catherine knows this more than anyone, in wonderfully sorted things. So the first task really was to identify the potentially easy wins within that pile of stuff. And what we found is that in terms of paper materials, the core content are the proceedings from 1990 to 2007, some of which are spiral-bound catalogues, if you like, or books. The first two are lever arch files full of loose sheets. We then have the proceedings which were published by the BCS, which look similar to the current proceedings from 2008, and they are all available digitally on Science Open, so we knew that that was going to be a good sort of material. And then we also actually have videos of most of the presentations from 2020 to now. So we knew we had some great content there. We wanted to start working with that to give it some structure and to make it accessible. So what we now have is a database of all of the 2008 to 2024 proceedings, papers, and any videos that are available. We don't have videos for those earlier years, although apparently some may exist.
Here.
Yes, so Carl may have some. So there might be gaps. Now that we can share the database, maybe Carl can have a look, and there could be gaps. I focused on making it keyword searchable in terms of the author and title as a starting point. All papers are part of a session, and that session provides a sort of categorization of the papers grouped into sessions. And of course, I have links to Science Open for PDFs of all papers. So actually, we have a lot of content that we're linked to. And today, I'm launching the search facility, and we'll use it live as part of it. Now, before I open up, I'm aware of some limitations, but of course, it's an ongoing project. I'm not going to get everything done in one go. As mentioned, it only supports author and title searching. It doesn't go deeper into abstracts and whatever. I have found that author names are not standardised, and I thought it was really important to be able to find individuals within that big body of work and ultimately look for connections. So there's some work to be done in standardising author names, or providing a little lookup table where the different variations of an author's name are linked together. Likewise, session titles are not standardised. I had hoped to be able to do some analysis of the different sessions, and I think I need to think of an alternative approach to that. Categorisation, be it manually or through some automated process, is a starting point. The system is currently written in JSON and JavaScript, which means it's not a SQL database, but on the other hand, it isn't gigantic in database terms, and this works quite effectively. It also means that the code doesn't require a server to run. And this is something I find important as part of my archiving work, which is when I archive websites, you often find that the website itself, what you see on the page, is not enough to run the whole website because it's using back-end databases and libraries and so on. So I've tried to make sure this works in the front end and it can be copied and shared, and hopefully in years to come it will carry on working. However, I think it does work well, and you'll see in a minute. So I'm now going to give a live demonstration. So the EVA London Archive is a section on the CAS website. It's been there for a while. And what you will see, we'll go into that in a second, there's now a new keyword search facility, plus we have links through the proceedings, going back to, well actually I do have an index of 2007, but these earlier ones, you can see that that's a spiral bound, some of them are perfect bound. Go back. And also EVA London, interesting thing, is the early ones didn't just take place in London. We call it EVA London, but actually two of them took place in Scotland. I thought maybe they were in addition to EVA London, but no, I can't find an EVA London then. So it was EVA, and it took place in Scotland. And I think some others took place in, so Cambridge was a location, and we go right back. And then, like I say, these early ones, I just have a spiral, spiral bound, but I just have a lever arch file full of the first ever EVA. Now, like I mentioned, I haven't gone back to these older ones, but the plan is to do that. I've now got a working relationship with De Montfort University and their archive, and that gives me access to certain tools and facilities to enable the digitisation of this to happen a bit quicker. Now, we do have lots of floppy disks of these. Graham has lots of floppy disks. The reality is, paper is better than old digital media. It'd be lovely to get the floppy, and maybe we have the floppies, we can read them, but realistically it's going to be quicker to scan using a scanning machine and get the proceedings digitised in that way. I always think it always comes back to paper. We know how to look after paper. Paper can be made to survive a very long time. Digital media, who knows, I've got CD-ROMs that have peeling apart that have really important stuff on. They won't last particularly long. Floppy disks, well, of course, the floppy disks sort of last, but who has a floppy disk reader? I have a floppy disk reader, but does anybody else have a floppy disk reader? So,
One
have
room
that.
to
Now,
ask that.
let's have a little look at, well, actually, let's first start off by having a look at latest EVA. Now, because this is running on a database, normally it takes me a while to convert the program into the website. I was able to do it at the weekend, just by taking that. So we actually have EVA 2024 up on there. And as I have videos and the videos get shared with me, they'll go up online. Video processing does take a while, so I can't guarantee that it'll all be done the day after, whatever, but they'll be done within a couple of weeks. Simple editing and uploading, and maybe quicker than that, we'll see. So this is this conference. I haven't popped in the cover art. I have a cover art, but it has stock image written on it, so I wasn't able to, I thought I won't do that, so I've taken a picture, I'll put it up by the end of the day. So now let's have a look at the exciting bit. So search. So we have this keyword here, and I want it to be very simple. I also want it to be fairly quick. So what everyone will do who's involved in EVA is they'll type their own name in. Bound to happen. Lambert.
Fame at last.
Just area. So what happens? It's live search, so it will start returning results after 3 characters. And then if you zoom in and put the whole word in, you'll get, I think, everything here. And here's a good example actually of we need a thesaurus of names. You've got Nick and Nicholas. And we've got a different Lambert up there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Any relation?
maybe for the first time in a while, you'll be able to see all of your papers at EVA. So there we go, Nick and Nicholas, various papers over the years, and in the case of the more recent ones, there are videos as well as the papers. That provides quite a nice,
Very impressive.
and it's nice and quick. Now, if we go in, and this is an example I had, if we look at Bowen. Now, apart from finding a lot of papers, you'll see exactly the problem that I've mentioned, which is you're sometimes down as Jonathan P. Bowen.
That's my preference.
Yes, I can see that's your preference, but then you're also sometimes down, I think it was 2021, I was looking at this,
Jonathan.
as purely Jonathan. There we go, yeah, 2021. And in the proceedings titles, which I plan to include in the search results, you're down as JP. So the decision there is to be standard. You'd probably want to standardise on one spelling of your name, but there might be there could be plenty of examples in there. But at least you can search by keywords, so you can probably find your own. Of course, I think author search is probably what a lot of people will do. I'm going to search for Sean's. Of course, there's me, but there are other people with names that contain, and there's also my colleague Sean Carroll as well. So it's not just in there. Then, of course, you can also search for topics. Now, remember, we're only searching author and title. So if I was to search for, actually, AI is not a very good thing to search for because there'll be a lot of AIs. It's only 2 letters. I don't return 2-letter searches. I'll go for artificial. Of course, there could be lots of artificial things, but artificial intelligence is probably the most likely one to see here. And you'll see it says there are 16,099 records related to artificial intelligence. But we also know that people may have a paper about artificial intelligence that isn't titled artificial intelligence. So this is where the categorization comes in, where it's important that we're generating metadata. So I think we have quite a useful facility. As mentioned, it's over 1,000 paper titles in there, including presentations. So some of them are presentations only, no paper, and most of them are paper, no presentation or video recording. But I do encourage you to have a little look at the facility. And I'm now going to go back to that previous one, hopefully.
We have got keywords in our papers nowadays, whether that would help.
Right, I'll go on to that in a second. So, go back to my presentation here. So what we have are a few limitations that I've mentioned, but there are clearly some enhancements I'd like to do. The obvious one is to include pre-2008 papers. Well, I thought I'd work on the tech before I... In fact, this job, it hasn't been a tech job, it's been a content job. Most of the time has been producing a standardised data file that is useful to search. But I want to include the pre-2008 papers, search abstracts and papers and the keywords. But I don't have easy access to them. They're inside the PDFs, which are in Science Open. Categorise the content, i.e. generate more metadata, generate it or have people add it. And really important, I think, is an author index. This is where we start looking at our community, who wrote stuff when, who co-authored and whatever. So we can produce this sort of network, this web diagram showing how things work. And then also, a little plug for my colleague Sean Carroll, who's a PhD student in Montfort University in Leicester. I would like to use all of this content as a data set for an AI. His work is looking at how we can use AIs to provide different interfaces for archives. And we have a potential data set here which would allow you to ask questions and explore EVA in a much more natural language way. So tell me about AI and digital art. It would come back with some suggestions. You can then continue the conversation. So that's what I'd like us to get to in the sort of shorter term. Longer term, much tighter integration of the PDFs and videos, so you don't have to leave the archive to watch these. Videos is relatively straightforward. PDFs probably involves a conversation with Science Open to get our PDFs back, unless they happen to exist somewhere. But I'm sure that's possible. And then we can pop up the PDFs. I can extract content from them. People won't have to leave the archive. Favoriting and sharing. So you can have your own personal favourites, if you like, which might include your own. But if you're doing research, it's handy to record them like that. And then sharing this database with people, be useful. Author pages. So beyond simply having a list of papers generated by a particular author, we could then look at having an author page. Effectively, it's your community page. You can put stuff on there about you. And then after a conference, we can then find out about the people we've been talking to, a bit more about them. And cross-linking of papers into collections. So I might say I want to create a collection of digital artworks, and I can pull all those papers and maybe make some comment about that. I will consider updating the database technology to push it into a back end, but at the moment the database is relatively small. It's less than 400K, about the size of a medium image. So, and it gets cached, so it's not a problem downloading it, but at some point I may want to use a bigger database. And then there's the integration with other CAS databases. So I've been working on similar databases for page magazines, indexing those, the artworks in all of our exhibitions, and there are other materials that we have, and it would be amazing to be able to go in, do a single search across all of that content and come back with people who've been involved in EVA, CAS activities, exhibited and so on. So if you're interested in having a look, probably for yourself, like I say initially, that QR code will take you straight in. What I will say is that this works fine on mobiles, but it hasn't yet been fully optimised for a mobile. The table's a bit wide, but it works fine. It should work on your mobile phones quite happily. It's a work in progress and things will be added. So I'm going to be adding more capabilities, in particular updating the content and so on. That's what I'd like to get done before the end of the year, is to really get those early EVAs in there so we can have a look at how the community's developed over time. And I think that's probably it for the sort of launch, really. So this is effectively a launch. We've just launched something at EVA.
Can I just throw that? I'd just like to add that Sean Carroll will be here on Thursday and he will be demonstrating as part of the research workshop his advanced tutorial practice on the archives using AI.
So I should have... Yeah,
We'll know more about
I should have
Thursday,
yeah.
Thursday after lunch.
Yeah. So Sean's doing some very interesting work looking at how we can use natural language and chatbots effectively to explore archives, and there are a whole bunch of issues surrounding that. The code name for the project I've given it is Lansdowne. We're not going to call it that. I sort of imagined one day it would actually have the voice of John Lansdowne, and then you would be able to ask the chatbot questions. But making a chatbot a person, I don't know. There are ethical issues around that. So it's just
Just a few.
Okay, and then I think the next two talks are videos.
So how you roll the video?
I'm just wondering, is Sam here to do that? Are you here?
Which one am I getting wrong?
So which speaker is first? Is it
Anne.
Anne?
Top one.